Impression of Pirlo. It seemed like you I guess when you communicated with him, you probably figured it out in 30 minutes or so.
Yeah.
When you brought him on, what did you think?
Yeah, special player, obviously. Guy that sees passes that most of us don't, and can really open up the game. And I think that you see what I saw right away, and I have to look at the video, but what I saw right away was just kind of our team opening up and really using every ounce of space out there because they felt like he could find him. So he made a big difference for us, and that's his first game after 4 days of training with the team. So we will hope for even better going forward.
Okay. Hi, Jason. It seemed that in the first half, Orlando had the three-man back line. It seemed to compress the space. How'd you adjust at halftime to deal with the three-man back line?
For me, it was a couple of things. I don't think that our wingers, our higher wide midfielders, were doing a real good job of advancing themselves up into those spaces to try to take advantage of the spaces wide. I didn't think Poku was mobile as I would have liked him to be, looking to make diagonal runs in those corners and behind. That's what you need to do when you're playing against three defenders. I also thought that they were creating another problem for us because they had Kaká and Larin and Rivas, all three, standing up all the time, doing no defending. And that caused us, it gave us a really different thing to look at. It meant that we needed to keep 4 players back. And the one that we kept keeping back every time was AJ, and he was positioned goal side of Kaká. And so that caused us problems because that meant Kaká could receive it at his feet even with AJ behind him, and that meant that we were very, very stretched out. So we made a small adjustment there and just tried to talk about how we could get at them more into the spaces.
Okay.
When did you realize Mix would be available for this game, and how pleased were you that he got to play today with Pirlo and Villa and how they mixed together?
We were watching the game pretty intently to try to make a decision about whether or not Mix could be available. I made a decision in my mind that if he played any more than 30 minutes, he wouldn't be available. So after the game, to see him play none, or actually when they made their third substitutions and we started to really push things and try to get him back as quickly as possible, we didn't quite get the job done because he didn't get back here until 2:30 in the morning. But he got a good sleep and a good breakfast, and we knew that we were going to have to really limit his minutes. So pleased to get him back, pleased to have him contribute in a positive way.
I think we're seeing a very different team now than we were in April, and I think it's really playoff contention is a huge possibility, especially after where the win puts us today. Can you talk about what your hopes could be if the playoffs happen, and how we can close up huge gaps that we see? Because sometimes it seems like I'm watching 2 different teams, like the first half and the second half were different today.
Yeah, I mean, I would warn against the first part of your statement, although I appreciate it. I appreciate your confidence. I still think that this is a team that needs to improve every single week. Just because we won this game and put ourselves, I think, above the playoff line for the moment doesn't mean that we're a playoff contention team. I still think that we've got a lot of improvements to make, and at the end of the day, we don't want to be just a playoff contention team. We want to be an MLS Cup contention team. And the first step of that is, as you correctly identified, to make the playoffs. But we've got a lot of improvements to make. I'm fairly frustrated individual that we allowed 3 goals again in our home stadium, and I just don't think that that we're managing the game the way that we will need to have any chance to make the playoffs or win the cup.
Okay.
Jason, looking at, again, going back to Pirlo coming into the match, and you spoke about it, the way he was able to open up the game. Do you look at Pirlo as the catalyst towards the victory at the end of the match? And also, as a secondary part, away from Pirlo, Jefferson Mena made his debut today and was torched by Larin for 3 goals. Is this an indication of somebody that's coming into the league and perhaps getting his feet wet, or do you not agree with that assessment?
Not at all. It really irks me that you would try to make an individual comparison that a player plays and he gets scorched by, what was your words? Scorched by a player. There's a lot of players out on the field. He wasn't the only one. And there was no individual man-marking responsibility. Hey, Mena, you watch Larin. No, that's not how we play. It's the responsibility of everybody on the field to feel accountable for that player scoring 3 goals. because that, at the end of the day, isn't good enough. But we would never place the blame on a new player, Mena, and say, oh, that's all your responsibility. Not at all. And he showed a lot of good signs. He did a lot of good things, actually. But it will take some time to adjust, as we said about every single player. And going back to the first part of your question, again, I think that you're having too much of a tendency to want to pick out individual players to say that they were responsible for this, and Pirlo was responsible for the win, not for me. Pirlo contributed to the win, as did Mix Diskerud, as did AJ, as did Mehdi Bellucci, as did Tommy McNamara, as did Poku. Everybody contributed to that win equally.
Okay.
Hey, Coach. Two-parter. Just one, offensively speaking, do you think the pieces are really starting to come together? And defensively speaking, what would you like to still see improve from the back line?
How long do we have? The first part of the question, the first answer to the first part of your question is easy. Yeah, I'm really excited about what we're seeing in the attacking half of the field, about some of the dynamic movements we're seeing, about the goal scoring chances we're seeing. That excites me. But the second part, I'm very concerned with. And I think we have a lot of work to do, as I said, and we'll continue to have work to do because we've got a lot of new players on the field. In that game right there, we had 3 new defenders to our back 4. As of a month ago, none of those players were on our team. One of them played his very first match and probably wasn't fit enough to play as many minutes as he did. So a lot of considerations there. And so when the pieces come together and we continue to work very, very hard to get this team sorted out defensively, I think we're going to be pretty good.
Yesterday you talked about not letting Kaká face up the goal with a lot of space. When you concede 3, I mean, do you look at it as you guys failing to do that, or is it their pace giving you fits, or is it something, a great individual effort by him, or is it something else altogether?
No, I think it's a little bit of everything. Right at the moment, I can't say that I felt like Kaká was a big contributor in any of their 3 goals, but I could be a little bit blind right now because that was a stressful match for me. So I may have a few things wrong. But I don't feel like he was getting a lot of time and space. And I think in the first half, as I said, I think the fact that we were playing so defensively against him actually caused us some problems. And so I thought we managed that situation better in the second half, and I think that contributed to our win.
Okay.
Coach, do you have an update on Frank and when you might expect him to play, and maybe an idea of how frustrating this is for him?
I feel very, well, I say I feel very sorry for Frank, but I feel very sorry for myself as well that he hasn't played, and everybody that's involved. We all want him to play very badly, and him probably more so than anybody. He's very, very frustrated, but he's had now 3 very good days in a row and has been training really hard individually, and so I've said this every single week, but this time I can actually think, I feel it, that he should be ready for next week.
Okay.
Jason, can you speak, please, about Caillou's performance?
Mostly good, some bad, same as everybody on the field. He is a very, very special player, in my opinion. He was a guy that we did quite a bit of work around a year ago this time, or geez, even a little bit longer ago than that. Watched him a lot on video, watched him live, and so he's a player that we're extremely high on, and I think that we saw a bit of it tonight, and I think that, you know, I'm hoping that as we go forward and as he gains fitness and stays healthy, hopefully, you should see what I think will be a top player in our league.